Hello and welcome back to Mrs. Houck's 6th grade math class. If you remember, we are in our blue math book for Engage New York. We are going to look at lesson 4 still, and it's going to be on S15. We're going to look at the problem set. Some of you might need to remember to do your extra math lesson. Hopefully you've got that done today. Let's look at problem number 1. We're going to go over this together. It says, find the opposite of each number and describe its location on the number line. So let's circle the word opposite because we want to make sure we find the word opposite. And we're going to write the opposite of all 4 of these integers. The opposite of negative 5 is 5. The opposite of 10 is negative 10. The opposite of negative 3 is 3. And the opposite of 15 is negative 15. Remember, this should be a review for those of you that have been watching the video. Now, if we look at the directions, we're not finished because it says, and describe its location on the number line. So I'm going to draw a number line right here. I'll put 0. We know that positive numbers go on the right, and we know that negative numbers go on the left. Okay, that's going to be our visual. So if I had to tell you where 5 is located on the number line, where do we start? You are correct. We always start at 0, and we're going to move 5 places to the right. So, right, start at 0, and move 5 places to the right. Okay, so I've done the first one with you. I would like for you to pause the video, and I want to see if you can figure out how to answer the other 3. I want you to stop right here. If you don't have enough room to write here, you can do it on a separate sheet of paper, and then we will look at it. So go ahead and pause your video, please. Okay, so let's look and see how you did. Problem 1B was negative 10, so I wrote on my paper to start at 0 and move 10 places to the left. Looking at positive 3, so I said start at 0 and move 3 places to the right. And then my last one, negative 15, start at 0 and move 15 places to the left since I'm going negative. Once again, if you did not get this all written down, please pause the video so that you can write all of your answers. Okay, let's look at problem number 2. Problem number 2 says, write the opposite of each number and label the points on the number line. So, point A, the opposite of 9. Opposite of 9 is a negative 9. Let's go locate that on my number line. Start at 0. Negative means I'm going to go to the left 9 places. We're going to put a dot right there on the number line, and don't forget we need to label it A. B, the opposite of negative 4. Well, the opposite of negative 4 would be positive 4. Let's go find it. Start at 0. 4 places to the right. Label it B. C, the opposite of negative 7, is positive 7. Let's go locate. Start at 0. Move to positive 7 and label it C. Letter D, the opposite of 0. What's the opposite of 0? Kwanzaa, do you remember what the opposite of 0 is? You are correct. The opposite of 0 is 0. Let's put a dot. Label it D. And the last one, the opposite of 2. The opposite of positive 2 would be a negative 2. Start at 0, move back to negative 2, and label it E. By the way, for those of you that are listening in my video, your secret word today for your quiz is pizza. Pizza, P-I-Z-Z-A. Okay, let's move down to problem number 3. Problem number 3 says, study the first example and write the integer that represents the opposite of each real world situation. So let's underline the word opposite. In words, write the meaning of the opposite. So problem 3A says an atom's positive charge of 7. We want to write the integer. And remember, we've been putting in our notebook, integer means all I want is the number. So the integer for the opposite of positive 7 would be a negative 7. Go ahead and read the next few problems, and I want you guys to write the integer on your paper, and then we will check it. So remember, pause your video and go ahead and see if you can figure out the integers. All right, so let's check the paper. A deposit of 25. Remember, a deposit is a positive thing, so the opposite you should have put was negative 25. 3,500 feet below sea level, that would be a negative, so the opposite would be positive 3,500. Letter D, a rise of 45 degrees Celsius. A rise is a positive, opposite would be negative. Now, do I need to write Celsius for this problem? No, I do not need to write Celsius because remember the directions say only write the integer. Okay, last one. A loss of 13 pounds. Loss is my key word. Loss is negative, so the opposite would be positive. Now, if you're listening, we still aren't finished with problem number 3 because it does say in words, write the meaning of the opposite. Well, we found at the top that it was kind of small area to write, so let's circle 2 problems. Let's do problem A and let's do problem D. Okay, so we're only going to do those 2 and we're going to write the meaning of the opposite. So this says an atom's positive charge of 7. We found out that the opposite was negative 7, so we're going to write in words. We're going to write an atom's negative charge of 7. So we'll write an atom's negative charge of 7. Now, obviously, I don't have to write another negative symbol in front of 7 because we already have the word negative in our story. Okay, we used our integer negative 7, and we wrote the situation, an atom's negative charge of 7. Well, let's look at D. D said a rise of 45 degrees Celsius. The opposite of positive 45 is negative. We're going to write this in words. Instead of saying a rise of 45, what negative word could we use? I'm going to use, instead of rise, the opposite, I'm going to say a decrease. So let's write a decrease of 45 degrees Celsius. Now, if you notice, I had to write it all out because it asked for me to write the situation. Okay? Remember, if you need to pause the video, please do so that you can finish writing. Okay, 2 problems left. Number 4 says, on a number line, locate and label a credit of $38 and a debit for the same amount from a bank account. What does 0 represent in the situation? Well, it looks like to me the number line's already been made. There are only 2 tick marks. Obviously, I can't count by 1s. I'll never make it to 38. Can't count by 2s. So the only way I'm going to be able to count is I'm actually going to have to label this a positive 38 and a negative 38. So go ahead and label your number line. And then because it wants me to label a little bit more, I'm probably going to say that this side is my debit and this side is my credit. The last thing we have to do for this problem is it says, what does 0 represent in the situation? Well, 0 can't be 0 degrees because I'm not talking about temperature. Talking about money and balance. So I'm going to say that 0 represents no change in my balance. Okay, 0 represents no change in the balance. Don't think that bell means math class is over yet. Okay, last problem, number 5. On a number line, locate and label 40 degrees Celsius below 0 and 40 degrees above 0. So they made our number line for us with the tick marks. Let's go and put 0 in the middle. I have to get to 40 on both sides. What could we count by? Not ones, not twos. Oh, 10s won't work. Oh, we could count by 20s. So let's do 20, 40. Now let's do the negative side. Negative 20, negative 40. Okay, so on the number line, locate and label 40 degrees Celsius below 0. So this would be over here. And we're going to say negative 40 below. And this would be positive 40. So we'll say 40 above. What does 0 represent? 0 this time. We're not talking money. What does 0 represent? 0 represents 0 degrees. So we're going to write 0 represents 0 degrees, and we do know it's in Celsius, so we're going to label it Celsius. Okay, when you're finished, you will notice that there is a Google form I would like for you to fill in. Once you filled in the Google form, hit submit, and you are done for the day.